Before we jump into the show, I want to let you know that Podcast Branding Academy is now open. This is my online school for podcasters. That's right, for any podcasters, new or old, looking to learn the latest approaches to branding, marketing, and audience growth. We offer group coaching through an easy monthly membership. Don't have a podcast yet? We've got you covered too. Grab our free Podcasting 101 starter kit. Go to podcastbrandingacademy.com. Before July 1st, for our founding members discount, you'll also get live trainings, video tutorials, workbooks, one-on-one coaching, and more. You don't want to miss this. Head to podcastbrandingacademy.com.
Brands on Brands.
Hey everyone, this week we're talking about how to keep your personal brand growing. It's a deep dive into the topic of momentum. Check it out.
In a world where content is king and your reputation is your brand, how do you build a brand that matters? Welcome to Brands on Brands, a home for those that think different and push their boundaries. This is where branding that matters lives. Now, here is your host, Brandon Birkmeyer.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to Brands on Brands. I'm Brandon Birkmeyer, your personal branding coach. Thank you for tuning in. This week, we are talking about momentum, answering that question of how do you keep a personal brand going and growing and thriving? And that's our topic for today. But before that, if this is your first time joining us, make sure to subscribe, follow along, and keep on checking into the show. You can also go to brandsonbrands.com anytime to check out what we have going on there. It's also where you can get access to the Podcast Branding Academy. So look forward to you guys continuing to be a part of our journey here. And momentum is all about moving forward and continuing to grow and thrive. But how do you get there? Like, what is this all about? So I wanted to dive into the momentum mindset to begin with. So what is momentum, right? Momentum, simply put, is in layman's terms, how you keep things going, how you keep things moving forward. And scientifically, momentum, the word itself, is really about the energy exerted on an object and that object continuing to move, right? And I thought that that was an interesting way to think about it, that to get something moving in the first place takes force, right? You have to apply some type of force to an object. The object in this case is your reputation. It is the brand you are building for yourself. You have to be applying force to get that thing moving. Once it's already moving, in other words, once you've applied force to it on a consistent basis and you've got it growing, you've started to build a reputation, that reputation now starts to have momentum. And the good part of that is that once you've put the work in, the work will continue to be there and everything you add to it is cumulative. So if you build a website for your brand, that website, once you've done the work of building it, it exists and it will continue to exist even if you did nothing to it. It will have started moving. And if you build content, right, every single new episode of content or new blog post or new video, every time you create that thing once, it lives on in perpetuity. And if it happens to be successful, it might be something that continues to bring you attention month after month, long after you've created it. So the good part about momentum for a personal brand, for someone who's building their reputation, is that all it takes is a lot of little investments, little projects you can do one at a time for you to, after a period of time, have really developed something that is moving at its own pace. And the benefit of that is everything you know that you are building, all the hard work you're doing, you know that it's going to be something that serves you long-term in perpetuity. Now, that's the good part about momentum, right? Is that things are moving along and all it takes is that bit of force at the beginning, so to get it moving, you have to figure out what project you're going to put energy into. How are you going to get out there? Are you creating content this week? Are you building a website? Are you networking and meeting more people and partners and relationships? Are you creating a new offer or something that you are selling to serve your audience? What is the project you're going to take on that's you applying your energy to create more momentum that's going to serve you in the future? That's the good part. The bad part about momentum is that when you are in the middle of building something and you're in the middle of working on a particular project, getting it going in the first place takes a lot of energy, right? And you have to decide, like, how do I prioritize? And figuring those things out can be confusing. What I like to start with are the things that are right in front of me. I say, okay, what is the thing that's going to move my business that is a simple project I can take on right now that's going to help me? I try not to think of the huge picture and the hundreds of things that I could be doing. I try to pick just the one or two things that are right in front of me that seem important for me to get the project off the ground. So if I was just starting a coaching business, the first things I would get off the ground would be a way for people to get a hold of me, like a Calendly link. I would set that up, a landing page that explained why people would call me, like what we're going to talk about on that call, and a freebie that helps bring people into wanting to work with me. And I would build that landing page on a website like ConvertKit or something like that. I wouldn't even need a real website, just a landing page that collects emails and a place for you to get on my calendar. If I was starting, those would be the two simplest things that I would build first, because the momentum is going to come from me actually helping people and working with people. So that's what I see is the bad part is that you have to sit there and pick and prioritize what is the thing that you need to work on next. And when you are shifting from these different projects, it takes a lot of energy. So me deciding, I'm going to create content, that's the next thing I need to do. Creating content and then switching to building a website or switching to something else, it takes a lot of work to shift. So if I take a break from creating podcast episodes and then I jump back into it, it's a lot of energy to get my thoughts flowing again about what is the topic that I want to cover next and what's the format and the structure. But once I've created one or two episodes, it starts to flow out easier, and that momentum of that one project becomes easier. So if I can stay in flow for as long as possible and create these sprints of time where I'm working on a particular thing, that really helps me use the momentum from the energy I've created on that project, as opposed to switching all the time, right? If I wanted to build a course, like when I built the Podcast Branding Academy, I need to put most of my energy towards that at the same time so that I don't have to keep resetting and restarting while I'm taking on other projects at the same time. So I try to limit it down to one thing. So the bad part is that if you lose focus on one thing, it really slows you down, right? So the goal is to use momentum to your advantage, right? It's to recognize that you're going to put energy into something, you're going to focus on a project, and that you're going to give yourself the time to really only work on that for the most part. And that means that you might need to get ahead on other projects so that they don't get in the way and distract you while you are in the middle of the next opportunity. Speaking of that, of opportunities, the opportunity with momentum really is to set yourself up and plan ahead to say, okay, where are my windows of time where I'm going to plan to work on projects and tackle things? Maybe you can only take on one thing per month. Maybe you can only take on one new thing per quarter because you are running your business, right? Knowing that and identifying that is the opportunity, getting out there and saying, okay, what are the projects that are going to help me most? And when am I going to do them, right? Actually naming the thing and scheduling a time and saying, this is what I need to tackle and this is when I'm going to tackle it, is how things get done. So the opportunity is for you to say, what's the thing I've been telling myself I need in my business, and when am I going to build it, and scheduling that time to do it. That's the opportunity for us out there, because then you are using momentum to your advantage and building an opportunity for yourself to really get ahead further on these projects when you've scheduled them. And the challenge I have for you guys with this topic, the challenge I'm giving to you when you're out there and you're out there building your personal brands in your business, is to say, think about two buckets, your business bucket and your branding bucket, and say, okay, for my business, what's one project that I can take on that's going to help me get more efficient at generating leads for my business that will turn into more opportunities for sales for me? Where can I generate more leads for my business? Build one project around that, and then build one project around your content, because content is what's going to feed into those leads a lot of the time. So figure out, what kind of content am I going to create? How can I create it? How can I get If you're already doing it, how do you get better at creating it in a more efficient way that saves you time and that reaches all the different channels out there? So those are my two challenges for you: momentum in your business and momentum in your brand by generating more leads for your business and creating more content that every time you create it will continue to be there in perpetuity and serve you. And guess what? You look back a year later, if you continue to do this consistently, you're going to have a lot to show for it. And that momentum will be moving you along as opposed to you being the primary force. That's what I have for you guys today. Hope you appreciated it. And as always, I will catch you next time.
You've just taken your marketing knowledge to another level with this episode of Brands on Brands. But we have plenty more ways to help you build a brand that matters. Head over to brandsonbrands.com for resources, as well as access to our blogs, videos, and exclusive coaching sessions with your host. Be sure to visit brandsonbrands.com.